gap that can be filled. But you're right. Yeah, I think Singleton was actually okay.
He did all right. Yeah,
he was okay on Wednesday night. The young forwards are okay, but they're just not consistent enough because they're young forwards. I think Lamb has definitely improved their skill levels over the last 3 years. When you compare their skill levels in Wayne's last year to their skill levels now, I think he's hugely improved the skill levels of players like Partington, Smithies, and Byrne. But yeah, this was another poor call by Lamb for me. Was Wigan had an extra man. He didn't bring on the specialist hooker who could zip out of marker and create a mismatch. He left on Shorrocks, who is a very talented player and a perfect option for a ball playing 13, but he's not a hooker.
Not a hooker.
And Bullock wasn't on the bench. And Bullock, yes, lets you down after 10 minutes because he can't make tackles after 10 minutes, it feels like, unfortunately. But with the ball, he gives you an impetus. He would have been the player we needed to come on rather than Liam Byrne, who asks for all these carries, works really hard, but doesn't really make much impact. At least Bullock does create some impact, on 2 or 3 carries, and then maybe it drops off pretty fast after that, and that's why Wayne doesn't trust him so much, I think. But Lamb doesn't trust him so much, I think. But it's it's not. There's more issues. There's so many issues than that, and it's.
There are. I mean, as I say, I think that there's a problem with the go forward at Wigan with the pack, which means that even with the best will in the world, the backs are going to struggle. But then there are the whole morale of the team.
The halfbacks aren't playing together; they're playing separate to each other.
Young Smithy's not come on at all this year from where he was. And he's got
he did until Hastings was back in the side and never gave him the ball. But you can't argue with Hastings' quality on his own, but at the same time, he's not bringing anyone else into the game. Lamb tried to make changes for this game, like everyone's been asking for, and it didn't work out, because Jay Field looked scared to try and run around someone. So he had to resort back to Hastings, who hasn't fucking managed to make a pass to a centre or a winger in 4 months. To go back to fullback, and that's not worked either. He was great at the start of the season, but I think that has been a negative in the long run because he believed his own hype again and thought he was the best fullback in the league again.
Yeah.
Because he had a couple of virtuoso performances, but covered up other things that needed working on that haven't been worked on.
Yeah, as you say, it's a team looking desperate for the off-season at the moment and a fresh start and, a little bit of a reset. However, still in the playoff position, and it wouldn't take much for them to get on a little bit of a roll. But obviously, things need to change quite quickly, Mark, for it to be anything other than sort of a quiet slide into the off season.
Yeah, Leeds on the other hand, just one last thing. My Uncle Liam thinks they haven't recovered from the grand final.
Yeah, well,
and I think that is the last 3 minutes of that match are something that form part of this jigsaw piece that is very much in pieces. That is Wigan's season. Got to say for Leeds though, it was a big win for them.
Oh yes, very much so.
Cruz Lehman's been very impressive when he's had to play. He's played bits of games at halfback for quite a while. So they talk about all these different halfback partnerships they've had, and they have had a lot of halfback partnerships. But it seems to be that Cruz Leeming has played a lot of the time at half after starting at hooker. This game he actually did it the other way around and played at half, then played a little spell at hooker just to when they brought on another forward to basically defend against a team that didn't even need you to defend against. And then they went back to him playing in the half. He was very controlled. Wigan should have spotted that he's not a natural halfback and put more pressure on him. Jackson Hastings was on his side, and I thought that meant Wigan would get in the face a bit more defensively. Bateman and Hastings up against him, I thought that might work out. But Cruz Lehman controlled a lot of things. He played really well. I think as well, Harry Newman just always looks a threat. He's an impressive player.
He is. And I think, they've got, I don't like Tetevano, but he does give them some carry at the front. And what's the name of the big prop at Leeds?
Holroyd.
No, the tall fella.
Pryor.
I think Pryor's really good, and he's making a lot of carries and setting a good platform up front for Leeds. I think he's involved in a lot of the good stuff that Leeds do. I think Pryor.
Yeah.
I think I like him a lot.
What was your thoughts on Tetevano Simbinin? Because I think there was maybe I got the sense that outside of the stadium there was a general feeling of it was maybe a little bit soft. But
to be honest, I think Tetevano's a shithouse, so I can't be bothered. He can get sin-binned as often as he likes, as far as I'm concerned.
To me, he left his feet. He might have ultimately not quite followed through, but I think part of that was Liam Farrell noticing what was happening and getting his own arms up to stop him being knocked out. But Tetevano left his feet. You can't be leaving your feet and swinging at someone's head. You've got to be put in the bin. I do think the Briscoe one I wasn't entirely sure of. I've obviously not watched it back, but I wasn't sure if he was not square or not. I think generally Leeds had a lot of other players offside around that, but I don't know. I think
I thought it was a professional foul.
Yeah.
I mean, if that had happened to me and we were on the break and sort of actually got a little bit of momentum for one of the first times in the game.
Only time.
Really off. Yeah. And think it should have been a yellow card. I could have gone either way with that, but as I say, with Tetevano, I don't care whether he deserved it or not. I'm quite happy for him to get a yellow card and get off the field.
Well, I think he did deserve it for leaving his feet. Totally reckless. Okie dokes. But well done to Leeds. Nice try for the Myler try as well, and did what they had to do against a team that
was a good try, that.
Yeah, against a team that's empty. Okay. Moving on to Thursday night's fixtures, then. The first one that was played, David, do you want to tell us about that?
I do. It was Salford versus the turning up this week Catalan Dragons. And it finished 42-14 to Catalan. It was 22-6 at half time to Catalan. The referee was Liam Moore. There are incomplete team stats. I'm not sure which players were missing. But for the individuals in the winners' enclosure, Tom Davis, a try in 173 metres. Mikel Gudemond, who had a very good game, one try, 42 tackles and 143 metres going both ways. Julien Bousquet, 138 metres, and Fouad Yaha, 123 metres. For the losing team, Rhys Williams, one try. Oh, flipping heck, hang on. Sorry about that. I've just lost my place for a second. One try assist and 174 metres. Christian Inu, 143 metres. Ken Seo, 131 metres. And Dan Sargison, very good try. One try, 7 tackle busts, and 130 metres. That try was the highlight of the game, I thought. It was a really good try. We have one fan view from Tom Andrews.
Yeah, Tom said, I'll be damned if the top fixture dodgers were over their COVID bout in time to play this year's saved by someone slightly shitter team. Catalan will be cruising to the end of the season now. Sargent's try was entertaining. There was a few kicks in that. Always an element of luck when you're kicking it 2 or 3 times in a play. But it was certainly an entertaining score that they conjured up. I think the best score of the game was the Tom Davies try. I think it was the only Catalans try that really took some scoring. And I think with a lot of Tom Davies' tries this year, it does show the best of Catalans. You see big sweeping passing movements from left to right that are hard to defend, and then almost inevitably you'll see McMeekan or Varhey with a skillful offload as well, and then Davies find the smallest of spaces in the corner to get the ball down or to get past the winger and nip in and that sort of stuff. So I always think those tries are enjoyable to watch for me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the other try I thought was good was the try where Tompkins kicked it on the run, regathered his own kick, and then managed an offload, which I think was for Gudemond's second try, which I thought was a really good try. Gudemond's try, sorry, which I thought was a really good try.
No, I think Gudemond's try was one of the really simple, pathetically easy tries. So it will have been Joe Chan's try. I think Joe Chan's first try, if I'm right.
Could have been.
It was
Joe
Chan's try, anyway. Yeah.
It was a very good try.
Mickey McAlorum could be in some trouble, couldn't he, for that late hit that he got sin-binned for? That looked...
good to see some things don't change.
Pretty blatant.
Shit houses. It was a late hit. To be honest, on the highlights, you couldn't really see, how bad or not it was.
Yeah, you couldn't see the point of contact, could you? But you could just see that it was definitely late. Yeah,
you could see it was late, and you can see the guy was on the floor, but you couldn't really see how bad it was or not. So I'll have to leave that one to the disciplinary.
Do you know what I thought watching the highlights, particularly the first minute of the highlights, which was just Catalan scoring really pissy tries, was Salford are worse than Wigan, so at least we're not the worst team at the moment.
I tell you what, from what I saw of the League game, Salford are worse than Lee.
And Lee are worse than Wigan. Can we agree on that? I don't know if we can right now. Salford are definitely worse than Wigan, though. 14 points be damned. That Catalan's defence was pretty weak for those points too in a game where they didn't need to bother defending. Those first 4 Catalan's tries were so easy.
Easy to score. Very easy to score. The defence was hopeless.
Even Wigan could have scored against Salford.
I think
maybe Wigan could have scored against Salford.
Yeah, there we go. It was... obviously, you can't tell a huge amount from just watching the highlights. I know from listening to Richard Marshall, there were a couple of disallowed tries for Salford, which were probably right. But if they'd gone the other way, maybe the game would have been a little bit different. Maybe the fact that Catalan gave themselves a week off also helped.
Yeah, I think that's probably not done them too much harm, but it might do them harm when they get a walkover credited back on that game. So we'll see how that rolls out.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Game 3.
No, game 3.
Not for me.
Huddersfield versus Warrington. It was 14-0 to the wire at half-time. It finished 26-6 in favour of Warrington. James Child was the referee. Metre numbers were actually close in this one. Wire only made 46 more, so that would lead you to think a close game, but no. Warrington made their metres at 1.1 metres per carry better average gain, so they had a lot more impact, with a huge 9 metres per carry average gain achieved in the game. That's a really big number. That only happens 2 or 3 times a season, and almost always it's Warrington who does it, to be honest. They used that for momentum to get 6 clean breaks, whilst Huddersfield made no clean breaks. Their only try came from a kick, So yeah, Jake Mamo, 2 tries, 163 metres, continues his strong form. Chris Hill, resurgent Chris Hill, 145 metres. Gareth Widdop, back to some sort of form, 2 try assists and 119 metres. And Darryl Clark went both ways, 47 tackles and 102 metres. For Huddersfield, Nathan Peets continued his phenomenal tackling efforts since he joined the Giants. 53 tackles, 12 of which were marker tackles, and no missed tackles for Peets. Jerry McGilvery had 8 tackle busts and 164 metres. Luke Yates, rumoured to be attracting interest back down under, 130 metres for that very consistent performer. And Leroy Cudjoe, 128 metres for the old-timer. A couple of fan views on this one. Do you want to give us the first, David?
Yes, at MikeDog22, not a great deal happened, to be honest with you. The highlights pretty much cover what was a routine win for Wire. Great atmosphere in the away end all night. PA Man had a nightmare at the start of the game by welcoming Hull FC as their visitors. Never a good thing to do.
Tom Andrews said, worst atmosphere of the week goes to this game. Even in the highlights, the best bits of the game, all you can hear is individual fans calling the fuck out of the players / ref. Oh, and the cowbell prat. Hope everyone's looking forward to Huddersfield turning into the Queensland Maroons on Monday.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah,
you could do if they just turn up.
Yeah, you could hear the Huddersfield fans shouting offside and things like that, or even murmuring offside. At times, it looked to me, at least from the highlights, a fairly routine win, Mark. I thought Wire were lucky to get away with a forward pass on the first try, but the second Jake Mamo long range try was a really good try. I thought was was very nice, and Widdop is starting to look quite sharp.
Well, we overlook forward passes now as long as tries are scored. You watched the game last